So I have been reselling for like 20 years now, and there are just some things that I no longer do. Basically, my goal now is to make reselling fun and profitable and have it not take over my house, my life, my dining table, my garage, and it can really easily do all of those things. So these are 11 things that I no longer do as a reseller, and it just really has helped me simplify, streamline, optimize, and just get like a better mindset around reselling so that it's enjoyable and profitable at the same time. If you are new here, my name is Eileen. I'm a very part-time reseller. I basically fit it in wherever I can, but I don't think I'll ever stop reselling. I've done it at many different capacities over the years, side hustle, part-time, full-time, and now I have settled into side hustle for fun kind of thing. But I have been reselling for, like I said, like 20 years. And there are just some things that make things easier for you or some things that make things harder for you. So let's talk about them. All right, the first thing I'm going to say is that I no longer try to be full-time. I had this goal to be a full-time reseller for the longest time. And I think a lot of people go into reselling thinking, I'm going to do this full-time. It's going to be easy. It's pretty simple. I just need to find a lot of stuff, sell it. It'll be good. And what I found was that that was not the truth. Going from part-time to full-time is not just like doubling your hours or doubling your sourcing. It is a lot harder, and it is very time consuming. And I don't think that there are a lot of resellers out there who are full-time who are not working like over 40 hours a week. So more than a full-time job. For me, I love reselling. I love thrifting, and it took the fun out of it and it made it so stressful. And for me, it just wasn't worth all of the work. I will always tell people that reselling is a great side hustle or even a part-time income, great for people like stay-at-home moms or people who just want to make extra money. But I will always tell people that if you want to go full-time, make sure you have a backup plan because it is hard work. So I have just let go of that pressure to be a full-time reseller. It sounds like the dream, and I tried it and it was not the dream. I will do another video on that in the future, I think. If you want to see that, let me know. All right, the second thing is I no longer buy things because they're cute. I really use a lot of self-control now. I used to just like buy things because I was like, someone would really like this. But the problem is, even if you buy like the cutest thing ever, if you can't describe it well or people aren't actively searching for it, it's not likely to sell. So like maybe if it was in a store and someone was just seeing it sitting there, then it would sell. But online is a lot harder because people are specifically searching for things. Most people aren't just like browsing and scrolling, trying to find whatever their eye catches, right? Or whatever catches their eye. I don't know why I said that weird. So now I really try to focus on things that are either a part of a very popular style, something that has a lot of good keywords like cottagecore, prairie, whatever, all those kinds of styles and aesthetics, or something that I can look up based on like brand, style name, or whatever and see that it is selling well. I really try to use sold comps to help me make the decision of if I should buy something. And I try really hard not to buy something just because it's cheap and cute. I think that's a trap. One other thing you might be surprised by is that I no longer go yard sailing for inventory. Last year, I did a lot of videos taking you yard sailing with me. I think it's so fun, but I have just found, and I tested it out for like a year, the yard sales in my area just are not as profitable, and they're all so spread out that I would spend like 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday driving around, spending a lot of time, spending a lot of gas. And it just did not make sense for what I was finding. Sometimes I would come home with a good haul, but usually it was pretty mediocre, and I could find a lot more not spending a lot of gas by going to one thrift store or the bins. And it just wasn't efficient, and the profit wasn't enough to make it worth my time and the effort of driving around on a Saturday morning. So I cut yard selling out of my sourcing routine, and I'm totally fine with that. I still go yard selling for fun, but we will hit like maybe 4 or 5 and then give up. Before I would spend like 4 or 5 hours and I would hit maybe like 10 or 12 max if I was lucky. So it just wasn't worth it. I really wish we lived in an area with really good yard sales because I love yard sales, but it just wasn't working for me. All right, this one might be a little controversial and hopefully you don't hate me for this, but I don't list everything myself anymore. I use a VA, and that is because I am already so busy. And if I didn't use a VA to help me list, I would not be consistent at all, and I just wouldn't have the time to resell. Yes, it does take a little bit of my profit, but I think it's worth it because I really love to source items, and I think it's fun, and I love making those sales, and it really does boost our income a little bit. So I do use a VA. I did a video all about it, which I will link, and she lists my items for me. I take pictures, I put them in Google Drive, and she drafts my listings, and then I'll go through them and make them live. So she saves me a lot of time. and she only charges me $1 per listing, which is really nice. If I get to a point where I'm not working from home as an entrepreneur and homeschooling 3 kids and trying to resell and everything else, and I have a little bit of extra time, I might not use a VA, but as of right now, it's totally worth the investment because I honestly would not be listing things very consistently at all if it weren't for her. I no longer let inventory take over my house. This is something that I think a lot of resellers are guilty of. You go sourcing, you bring the stuff home, and you don't have a good process for storing your inventory before it gets listed. So it ends up sitting in bags, maybe on a chair in your bedroom or in your office or on your dining table by the front door, wherever, and it just kind of starts to take over your house. I used to have an office, and I ended up giving that to my youngest so that we could get him into his own bed and I could get a little bit more sleep. And now I work in my bedroom. So I don't have a lot of storage other than the listed inventory in the garage. So now I just have a system in place. I have a little spot in the closet where I can hang some stuff that needs to be hung. And I have a couple of bins where I put stuff that isn't hung. And I just don't let it take over my house. I have a process in place of what I do when I get home so that everything is put away and it's not just like all over my house. This was kind of a huge maybe mindset shift for me, just not letting reselling take over, be so complicated. It used to be so time and space consuming, and that's why I created the Reseller Roadmap, because as I figured out how to do things in a better way, I wanted to share that with people who were asking me to teach them, basically. It's for resellers who want to build a consistent income in kind of a simpler, more sustainable way so that, like me, you are no longer allowing reselling to kind of like take over all your time and take over your house. If you want to check that out, you can click the link in the description below. I've had a couple hundred students go through it and I'm really proud of it. And it's my way of helping people who want that extra help, because I did get people emailing me or commenting asking if they could help or I could help them. And there's just no way I would have time to do that. So if you want to build a more consistent and also simple, sustainable reselling business that works with your life, go ahead and check that out. I think you will really like it. Like I always say, you don't need a course to get started reselling, but it does kind of give you like a head start and helps you kind of like skip a lot of the mistakes. And in my opinion, when I take courses, it helps me start doing the thing faster. And in this case, making money a little faster because you're skipping all of those mistakes. So if you want to check it out, the link is down below. Otherwise, no pressure. All right, the next thing is I don't have a huge death pile. I kind of told you how I keep all my unlisted inventory in a closet and a couple totes. I no longer have like a huge death pile. I used to think that I needed to buy as much as possible just in case I couldn't go sourcing one day. And now I don't do that. I only buy things that I'm excited to list, and I try to keep my death pile. If you don't know what a death pile is, it's basically the unlisted inventory that just sits there and waits for you to list it. I try to keep it at 50 items or less. Usually I can photograph 30 to 50 items in a day. So as long as I have a little bit of a backlog, I can take pictures of everything and then I can start accumulating more next time I go sourcing. Also, if you're struggling with inventory management, go ahead and check the link in the description below. I do have a free spreadsheet that will help you kind of like see what kind of inventory you have, see where it is in your inventory. So if you have an inventory system, you can put the ID in there, see where it's listed, see how much you paid for it, all that kind of important stuff, just to keep your inventory organized. And it's a really cool, just like simple way to just like come home and like really quickly type in all the stuff that you have so you know what you have in inventory, if it's listed or not, and all that fun stuff. So if you want to check that out, the link for that is below too, and that is free. All right, next, I don't worry about returns or feedback. These are two things that people get really anxious about, and I don't think that we need to be anxious about it. First of all, returns are just a part of business. Any business has returns, and my return rate is like maybe 1% or less, so I get a couple returns a month at the most, and it's really not that big of a deal. I've only been like scammed or like people pretending that they didn't get something or they got something that was damaged or whatever, maybe twice in the last like 10 or 20 years. So it's not that big of a deal. And then about feedback, you really don't have to worry about it. A lot of people, when they first start, they're like, oh my gosh, people aren't leaving me feedback. And people just don't do that often unless they're upset. So I think no feedback is better than bad feedback. So as long as you have a little bit of it, then it's not that big of a deal. Just don't even worry about it. All right, the next thing is that I no longer buy things that need fixing. I used to love to try to save things, and I would get something and be like, oh, this just has like a little hole. I can really sew this. Or, oh, this just needs to be dry cleaned. I'll do that. And if I can't list something as is, or maybe I throw it in the washer at the most, then I won't buy it unless it's worth like $100, because I'm never going to do it. And I used to just have stuff sit and it would stress me out. And even though I promised to like take care of it once a month and just like gather all the stuff that needs help and then like take care of it once a month. I just never had the time to do it, or I guess I just never found the time to do it, and it just never happened and it was never worth it. So I rarely will buy anything that anything needs to be done to it other than just a quick wash. Next is I don't feel guilty about slowing down. The thing that I like about reselling is that it can fit in with your needs. So if you really need money in the next couple of months, you can ramp it up and get more income. If you really just don't have time, you can just leave the stuff that you have listed, maybe share it if you're on Poshmark, share it using an automation tool or something, and you can just leave it and ship things out as they sell. The thing is, it's flexible, and I love that about it. So I don't feel guilty about slowing down. And like, honestly, right now, I haven't listed in over a week. And I'm not panicking about that because I still have things selling, and I will get to it when I have a little bit more time. Like I said, I resell because I love it and because it's flexible, and taking time to slow down and like be okay with like not listing things for a couple of days is no big deal. And I think a lot of people tend to get overwhelmed or burnt out because they refuse to do that. And I think it's totally okay to do. The next one is kind of a big one. If you're watching me here on YouTube, you probably watch other resellers, and it is to not compare your reselling business to somebody else's reselling business or your sales to somebody else's sales. I used to watch other resellers on YouTube and be like, oh my God, why am I not making that much money? And then I realized this is not my main business. I have 3 kids, 2 of whom I homeschool, and my priority is not making as much money as humanly possible with reselling. A lot of people I watch either have help, like they have multiple people working for them, or they don't have kids and this is their full-time job, or whatever. And you just can't compare your situation to somebody else's. I use my own numbers to compete with. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, why are these other resellers making more money than me? I need to get on that level. I say, don't compare. Don't do that to yourself. Just compare yourself to your previous sales. So I look back on last month's sales and compare this month's sales and say, what can I do to improve that? Rather than saying like, that person's making $20,000 a month, but that person has employees and a warehouse or whatever. So don't compare. It sucks to feel like you're not doing a good job when you were doing your best, and you just can't compare your situation to somebody else's. Even if it looks similar, it's not the same. All right, another thing I don't do is spend time manually sharing on Poshmark. If you are a Poshmark seller, you know that you have to share your items pretty regularly because when people search on Poshmark, the filter is by just shared. So the items that have been shared most recently are at the top of that search. I say you should share 2 to 3 times a day. That's what I tell everybody, but I personally prefer to share like 10 times a day so that I have a better chance of being up there. So I now use a tool. I used to try to do it manually, and I was like, I can save the money. I can save the $25 a month. And are you kidding me? Like, spending so much time sharing is just like not worth saving $25 a month, because I would forget, and I just don't have the mental capacity to remember to do it all day long. So I used to use a separate Poshmark sharing tool, but now if you've been on this channel before, you know that I love Vendoo, which is a cross-listing reseller tool, but has lots of other features now, and they just added marketplace sharing. So now I can just do it through Vendoo directly, which is really nice. If you want to check out Vendoo, you can check out the link in the description below. All right, and then the last thing is that I don't try to squeeze every last dollar out of items. I think as resellers, we like get offended if items don't sell for what we think they should sell for, and don't be like attached to your inventory, basically is what I'm saying. If someone offers you a little bit less, just take it. I personally price pretty competitively, or maybe on the lower end of competitive, and if someone sends an offer for a couple dollars off, I'm gonna take it. I keep my cost of goods really low. Most items are around $1. And if I have something listed for $25 and someone offers 20 or even 18, I'm probably going to take it, especially if it's been listed for more than like a month. So I don't try to squeeze every last dollar out of everything. A lot of people really want to hold on to things to make that extra $2, $3, $5. And my thought is, if I can sell it in a week for a little bit less, instead of waiting 2 or 3 months to get the right price that I want, I would much rather do that. Honestly, it not only is it better cash flow because you have more cash coming in, it's just so much more motivating when you're making lots of sales. And that's what gets me going with reselling. That's what gets me motivated to list. If I'm waiting for top dollar and like only making a couple sales a week, it's really not motivating at all. And I start to panic and be like, is this really a good thing to do? So I'd rather take a couple less dollars and sell something fast than like try to get top dollar for it. So letting go of these things has made reselling a little bit more sustainable and something that just kind of fits into my life really well, rather than a kind of like taking over and stressing me out. It makes it more stress-free while still being profitable. So let me know in the comments, what have you stopped doing as a reseller? I'm interested to see what else people are like, I'm not doing this anymore. This isn't working for me, or I'm still doing really well without this one thing or this one process. I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Again, if you're ready to simplify your reselling business and build a streamlined business that gives you a consistent income, go ahead and check out the Reseller Roadmap. I will have a link and a coupon code below. Thanks for watching. Bye.